Good evening, warriors, and welcome to the Unpopular Perspective. So today's video is going to be on the major phenomenon that's going around on these social media streets, and the topic is looksmaxing. And to me, looksmaxing is nothing more than the modern day male's last attempt at trying to resurface any form of power that he has in order to attract a woman in this modern day society. But what many young men fail to realize is that they are living in Babylon, which means the land of confusion. And in this land, the modern day liberal Western woman has been given over to Luciferian ideologies and whorish ideologies. And there's no coming back from it until the society falls, which it is on its way down. So instead of many young men understanding that they have to maneuver a certain way if they do want to preserve a legacy for themselves in the form of finding a good mate, having children, or raising a healthy family, instead are insisting on coping and focusing on the concept of over optimizing, which is nothing more than over analyzing, a paralysis of analysis, and getting caught up in this wormhole of mental masturbation, like looks maxing and focus on yourself and do you, while many of your many of the men who came before you already had families, were well off, and building a career at this time period in their life. Now, do I understand the issues going on within our society today? Yes, that's the reason why I make this video for young men, primarily the so-called black man, because he's the lowest of the totem pole, and a lot of brothers out here need help. So, coming from someone that's a little older, I'm going to give my perspective on this phenomenon, and you may not agree with it, but it is what it is. You don't have to watch the video if you don't. But anyway, I'm going to use this video as a backdrop, and I'm going to give my unpopular perspective.
You're not unattractive. You've just been looksmaxing based on the male gaze instead of the female gaze. If you're confused at this point, don't worry. You'll understand what I'm talking about by the end of this video. Most of you guys out there are doing your best to look great. There's only one problem. You're doing it from the male perspective rather than the female perspective. Men have a very different understanding of what most women find attractive. Men think that women like Vin Diesel, John Cena, basically extremely jacked men. If you've been looksmaxing to look like these men, I'm afraid all you're going to get is compliments from the gym bros. Women, on the other hand, will run away from you. What women actually find attractive is the opposite. Think Adam Driver, Andrew Garfield, Keanu Reeves, and Michael B. Jordan. What do these men have in common? They're big, yes, but to a certain extent. Lean.
So let me say this. I do agree with that. I do believe that many men try to overcompensate when it comes to their physique. And even when it comes to looks maxing within itself, overcompensation screams insecurity or you're trying to overdo it. You're trying to overcompensate for something you don't have. And I'm going to be honest with you, before we even get into the physique aspect, most young men I see today, because I'm a guy, I'm a little older. I came up in the 90s and early 2000s. Back in the day, the only looks maxing that we had was a fresh haircut, lineup, or a fade. Um, a nice outfit, clean pair of shoes, and good charisma and a charming personality went a long way. What I see that most young men don't have today is they have the looks maxing down packed. They have that well, some of them do. Some of the outfits and some of the wear that a lot of young guys wear nowadays. It's a different generation. I don't. It's not really my style or my vibe. But hey, if it works for you with the young women of your era, then so be it. But you know, a lot of guys they have the haircuts down pack. I see guys with fades now that I wish I had 15 years ago. Right? I see guys now who have the name brand, Gucci clothing wear and shoes that back then brothers that was coming up, we could even afford. If we got a pair of Air Force Ones, that was the end thing. when I was coming up in my era. So the guys have the outfits and the haircuts down packed. And most brothers are hitting the gym now. The gym has become a big component of our society now because, we live in an age of information and social media, and a person's image is a big thing. Image is power now. So, your looks are a huge commodity, especially since we're moving more towards the virtual world. So I get that. But most young men are lacking is a sense of charisma and personality. And this really plays a big role when it comes to approaching women or just talking to them. I've been one to never really have issues with women. Even back in my prime, I never had issues with women. And even now, I still don't. You know, I not I've been blessed with the gift of gab, quote unquote. And when I go out, I can pull up a nice conversation with a young lady at a Starbucks, at a Starbucks cafe or at a Walmart or whatever. I just know what to say and how to say it and to get them laughing. And once you get them laughing and they feel your personality, females call it the vibe. That's the way how you charm a lady. A lot of young guys, they have good appearances but stiff personalities, and character goes a long way. But I understand that most men are trying to overmax on their looks because we live in a society that's no longer social. It's more image based. So I get it, but if you can develop that personality and that charisma, it goes a long way. But let's continue.
And fit. Now, there's nothing wrong with bulking up and going into bear mode. If that's your vibe, then stick with it. But if you want to be as attractive as possible to appeal to women, you're going to have to Looksmax through their perspective instead of yours. So what are the do's and don'ts of being on the female gaze spectrum? Let's get into it. Keep it lean. If this were the 10th century when women liked hunter-gatherer types, then bear mode would definitely be in vogue. But contrary to what a lot of YouTube videos might tell you, bigger is not always better. Women prefer the Adonis golden ratio physique, where your shoulder is 1 to 1.68 wider than your waist over a bigger physique. I'm not just talking nonsense here. There's actually research out there that shows women prefer the Brad Pitt and Fight Club type of body over the bear mode type of body. This look is always going to be aesthetic and attractive, so stop trying to achieve a bigger size if your goal is to be as appealing as possible to women. And an aesthetic body will win every time over a super jacked body. The key is to have hypermasculine traits while retaining the pretty boy features. If you look at any Greek statue of a male, that's the ideal type on the female spectrum. Most girls will find Timothée Chalamet really attractive, but he's a pretty boy, and not all men are that pretty.
Okay, so let me say this. So this is one I do agree with. You don't have to be a bodybuilder, steroid, swole motherfucker to attract a woman. I do believe more of an athletic build is more attractive. Slender build. Hit the gym. Do your bench presses, do your shoulder presses, do your squats. Make sure you build strong, sturdy legs. Get your cardio in. Go for a 2 mile run. Me, I'm into martial arts. I do a lot of conditioning work, a lot of running, as well as weight training. And I believe a balance of two has kept me limber, lean, slim, and chiseled. And is actually the perfect balanced physique, I believe, is to have an athletic physique. Try to keep your waist tapered and in, try to keep your waist small, and you'll be okay. But brothers, unless you into powerlifting or bodybuilding, hey, that's your thing. But if you're trying to do it to attract women, you just overcompensate and you don't need to put on all that blocky muscle. And in the long run, most of that blocky muscle isn't useful anyway. I did some bodybuilding back in the day, and for me, having a cut, lean, athletic physique that's functional is not only aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but it's also healthier for me. I don't feel weighed down with so much muscle, and I can move fluidly and feel comfortable. So, a fighter's physique or a swimmer's physique or just an athletic build to me is not only better looking, but it's more functional. So that's something I can agree with. Let's continue.
So the ideal example would be Chris Evans. He has a hypermasculine body, plus he's good looking. And when he has
Pause.
that beard, that just makes him stand out more. Not only improving your physique, but paying attention to small details will significantly increase your attractiveness on the female spectrum. Speaking on that, next is facial hair. The kind of beard you have will determine how appealing you look. If you have a big, unruly beard or think full facial hair makes you attractive, chances are you're looksmaxing from the male perspective. That just makes you intimidating. According to research, most women prefer thick stubbles because, according to them, it was the most indicative of maturity, dominance.
Let me say this. So I do believe a trimmed beard looks good, for most brothers. Now, most brothers who can grow full beards, grow it out. If you feel like a full beard compliments your face, then do it, brothers. If you can't grow facial hair, then grow out as much hair that you can. Keep it lined up, keep it trimmed. The biggest thing here is that is what you feel comfortable with and what you believe looks good on you. Because if you do everything to try to persuade a woman's perspective of you, that's going to have an effect on your mentality. It's going to have an effect on your confidence and your charisma. Confidence, charisma comes from being comfortable with what you enjoy, brothers, not necessarily what the woman always wants. If that was the case, then you would be like these brothers here, who have been compromised and they're looking for every means to try to attract a woman. That just comes off as desperate. And I'm not going to lie, it just comes off very lame and corny. You dress how you want to dress. If you want to dress like a boss and wear suits and have a big beard like Rick Ross, you do that. If you want to have a shortcut stubble that's lined up, then you do that. You do what makes you happy. All right.
And aggression. Women don't typically like a full face of facial hair to wake up to in the morning. But if you still want to keep your beard, go for it. It's really not that hard to look smacks from the female gaze. All you have to do is pay attention to what
All right, brothers. I'm going to fast forward it here a little bit.
accentuates your attractiveness. Hairstyle. If you have a buzz cut, scissor cut, or tapers, you're looksmaxxing wrong. You have to understand that what's deemed attractive evolves from time to time. So maybe once upon a time, women found haircuts like that attractive. These days, women find Pinterest and TikTok haircuts attractive. If you look through the female gaze, curtain hairstyles are the way to go. Haircuts with lengths on the side. The quiet luxury hairstyles, those timeless haircuts that are clean and simple, over those sharp, aggressive haircuts. And the best part is, they're actually easier to maintain than those tapered haircuts you guys love so much. There's a video on our channel that goes into detail about how to achieve the quiet luxury aesthetic. Check it out for more info. Scent. Some of you might.
Okay, so you talked about haircuts. This is my perspective on it. I disagree with that. I believe, depending on your culture, ethnicity, background, certain hairstyles complement you. If I'm a so-called black man, so I'm speaking from a so-called black man's perspective. If you're a black man, tapers, we were the one who popularized the tapers and the lineups and the fades, and they look better on us due to our texture of hair. Now, I do know some Latino men, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Dominicans, they too also started rocking the fades and the low cuts back in the day, and some of them could pull it off as well. But it's not a style for everybody. I have seen some so-called Caucasian men who try to rock the fades and the hair, and due to the texture of the hair, it doesn't look good on everyone. So I think that's an unpopular perspective or opinion. I do believe fades and haircuts do look good on some. They do look good on majority black men and so-called Hispanic men, but not everyone can rock the fades. And I don't personally, I believe shaggy hair, in my opinion, I mean, no offense, but I think it's not neat. It's very sloppy and it's not crisp. It's not fresh, quote unquote, what they would say. So that's just my perspective on it.
Disagree, but women actually prefer more feminine scents on men. Now, I'm not saying buy floral perfumes. God, no. I'm just saying tone down on the Creeds, Invictus, and the Dior Sauvage scents. They're too aggressive and overpowering. Women want to feel warm and safe around men, and they don't want to be triggered by extreme hypermasculinity. Smelling a little more feminine than you're used to can attract a lot of girls. It allows them to see themselves in you. If you're able to look a little bit softer instead of rough around the edges, women will be drawn to you. It's like you're mirroring some of their beautiful qualities back to them. Perfumes like Bon Parfumeur and 701, The Perfumer's Story by Azizi's After Hours Eau de Parfum, and Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille are perfect because they're masculine scents with floral notes. Jewelry and accessories. I'll let you in on a little secret. Women like men that wear jewelry. Most guys think that just wearing a watch is best because they want to look as masculine as possible. But the female gaze prefer.
So you talked about scents. This is just basic stuff, brothers. Like I said, you don't have to overcompensate to look good. If you want to wear cologne, you can do that, or body wash. Personally, I don't put those things on my skin because they have toxins and endocrine disruptors. I don't even use deodorant. I eat a very clean diet. I don't have any bad BO or odor smells. I use a natural organic soap, but it's lavender scented. So when I wash up with it, I smell like lavender. When I go out with my lady friends or whatever, they always tell me that I smell good. So I never had that issue. But if you're a guy who has a strong body odor, maybe you do need a little cologne or whatever, or, something to put on your skin, but brothers, like I said, the only thing you need, a clean haircut, stay in shape, eat well, anything will look good on you if you do that. And then obviously you want to find things that complement your style. But all this over analyzing, over looks max, and all this bullshit is not necessary. Now, the reason why I chose this video as a backdrop, because it kind of goes through the basics of what you need. I don't agree with everything in the video, but majority of it, I think it just covers the basics. And that's all you need, brothers. You don't have to overcompensate and be so dead focused on all this shit. Because like I said before in the previous video of mine, if you have to do all this extra work, that woman isn't for you. Leave her alone. And if you're having a tough time here in the West, attracting women, then maybe you need to switch. Maybe you need to switch up your demographic. Because if you are putting in the work and you're a good looking guy, you're hitting the gym, your BMI and your weight is under control, you're eating healthy, you have clear skin, so forth and so on, you stay well groomed, and you're taking care of your business financially. If you're still not having any success, it's not you, it's your environment, and you need to leave that environment and go to where you're appreciated. Just my perspective.
Men that wear rings, necklaces, bracelets, and a few accessories. And I'm not saying put rings on every finger, go for the loudest watch, stack on different chains. Leave those things to the rappers. You'll just end up looking like a clown. The key is to keep everything subtle. 3 rings max. 2 on one hand and 1 on the other. Or just 1 signature signer ring, 1 bracelet. 1 or 2 minimal chains will just make you more appealing. It's all in the small details like this. Self-care. Self-care is not just for women. Please, guys, it's time we leave that age-old thinking behind. Men need to take care of their appearance too. I don't know what happened down the line to make men think that taking care of their appearance was feminine, because back in the ancient Greek and Spartan times, men were obsessed with their beauty. They considered obsessing over their beauty to be very masculine. What they did was balance their outward, softer appearance with their inner aggression that was always ready for war. So take care of your appearance.
Yes, he brings up ancient Greece, ancient Sparta, Athens, so forth and so on. The concept of the, aesthetics was, was to be appeasing to the eye, the beauty of the body, right? And I do believe that is an important aspect, brothers. You do have to train your body. There's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself and looking after yourself, but it's not the one all be all to the development of the man. I think the development should be balanced. Now, what they don't mention or talk about is when you look at the Greco-Roman ideologies and the philosophies that they followed, they were well-rounded, and not only just the aesthetic and outside appearance, but as well as the internal, the eternal aspects of the mind and how they think, learning things from philosophy and questioning, the concepts of life, right? Metaphysics, questioning the spiritual components of life and the unknown, politics, family, having an understanding of the importance of defending the state, right? proud in your nationality. All of these concepts, they were well rounded in. Where in this society, I see most men are good at the aesthetic aspect, the beauty of the male body, and good in the financial aspect to some extent, but they're lacking in the spiritual aspect. And the reason for that is because they don't follow the most high of the scriptures. So they're led over to a mindset of confusion. And yes, there may be some men who may not agree with me on that. I mean, it is what it is. That's why this channel is called The Unpopular Perspective. But I do adhere to the law, statutes, commandments from the scriptures, from the Bible.
Appearance and mental health. Combine your softer, pretty boy outward appearance with a hypermasculine, always ready for war personality to create the ultimate man. That's it for this video. Feel free to comment down below to let me know which of these do's and don'ts you're.
All right, brothers. So that's it for this video, for this Looksmaxxing video. Takeaway from this is, we live in a degenerate, failed society right now. I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. The reason why a lot of you younger brothers may have a hard time attracting women, which it was not so in my era. I mean, yeah, some guys had, issues, but it was free game for a lot of guys. I came up in a social atmosphere coming up, but due to the age of information and technology, and now we're moving into the age of AI, it is becoming tougher for a lot of young men and males in Western society when it comes to attracting women. And a lot of these women have been given over to the whore ideologies and Babylonian ideologies of this society. So you have that question to ask yourself. Yeah, Looksmaxxing is good, but you have to ask yourself, is overcompensating and doing all this extra work just to attract a woman whose standards is way below yours, and she doesn't meet the standards and requirements that your grandfather, or let alone your father, your grandfather, and great grandfather had for their women, who provided way more than what these women can provide due to the Western ideologies that they were taught. You have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is it really an issue with you not being able to find a woman, or is it an issue with your environment? Because I'm not going to be one of these guys on social media to gaslight you and say that it's you, because it's not. I'm not looking for the Teach Hanley contract, and I'm not looking just to make monetary gain off brothers. I make these videos because I'm really trying to help you guys. The issue is the environment, brothers. So if you're going to look smacks and you're going to overcompensate and build your finances, your wealth, grow spiritually, you're going to do all these things, at least take your talents overseas to a region that still cares about the respect of the masculine principle. Women who are still brought up in traditions and conservative values that still care about family and respecting the masculine principle. Because if you're doing all this work to receive that type of benefit here from the modern day Western woman, you're going to be sadly disappointed and mistaken. And again, you may disagree with that. I'm not a passport bro or a red pill. I don't carry none of those goofy ass titles. I'm just telling you what it is, and I'm just telling you the writing on the wall. This place is finished. If you want better options, and if you're doing all this work, take your talents overseas. But anyway, peace and blessings.